Welcome back, fellow ecom nerds. It is Andrew back again with a new video. Sorry it's been so long since the last one. A lot's been happening on my end. Some good, some not so good. We might not get into this right now, but I thought today what we could do is take a look at the best 4 Shopify platforms, or platforms that I think work really well and integrate really well into Shopify to create that perfect Shopify ecosystem, let's say. Now, I wasn't going to drop this one until next week, but I thought because it's taken so long to get a video out, I think you guys deserve this a little bit earlier than what I was going to originally release this. So this one's coming out today. We're going to have a few more next week. So we're going to have on Monday one around my best business advice and hopefully help you avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into when I first started my business. So hopefully that will help you out. And then I've got another one near the end of next week, which is on the advanced Facebook custom audience targeting, which will be part of the Facebook Part 2 series. So that is coming up next Friday, so keep an eye out for that. If you've watched the first one in our series on Facebook ads, this will be the lead up to it, and I'm sure there's a lot of people have been asking me about it, so I will be dropping that next week. So it's been a while, again, apologize, but without further ado, let's get in and talk about the perfect Shopify ecosystem, or at least what I think is a perfect Shopify ecosystem. So in this, I'm going to mention probably the best, or I would say my best 4 platforms that I use when I set up a new Shopify store. Now, there's a whole bunch of apps in Shopify, and I think we will revisit the best Shopify apps, especially for SEO. We might split it up into SEO and just kind of like general apps, and we'll do a video on that. But for now, I want to talk more about platforms. So these are platforms that integrate with Shopify and do different things depending on the jobs that you need to get done for your store. So without further ado, let's have a look at the ecosystem and why you would need these platforms. So what you'll generally need when you first start is a solid email marketing system. So you need this. There is no excuse for not having a good email marketing system. I always go with my number one choice, which is Klaviyo. I really love the tool. I can't praise it highly enough. I use it on all my clients' accounts. I use it on my ones. Just love Klaviyo, and we'll talk about that today as well. I'll walk you through why I like it and some of the features. We're going to talk about a customer support tool or a customer interaction tool, which also kind of is like a chatbot as well. So it kind of has a bit of chatbot functionality. And that one is Gorgias, which is a funny name, but a lot more people in the industry are using it, and it's becoming more and more popular for e-commerce. The next one we're going to talk about is a review platform. So there's a lot of review platforms out there like reviews.io, stamp.io, Yotpo, but I think that stamp.io is the best bang for your buck, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to use that, why you should use it, and technically why it should be part of your ecosystem. The next one that we should be going through is a loyalty program. So if you're getting a lot of customers and they're buying your product, you want to reward them and give them a discount, give them points, lock them into your ecosystem. And the best tool to do that, I think, is probably smile.io. And it integrates really well with all the other platforms I just mentioned. And the last thing you'll need, and probably the most important thing, is growth. And to get a lot of viral growth outside of Facebook ads and Google SEO and all that nice stuff is having a really cool viral growth competition app, which I've mentioned many times. It's still one of my favorites, and that is Gleam.io. So this is more of a visual representation of my desired ecosystem. So you can see here, I've got Klaviyo, Stamped, Gorgias, Smile.io, and Gleam, and these all play really, really nicely together. And I kind of just want to walk you through and show you what each one does. So marketing automation, why do you need this? Or marketing email marketing and automation, I should say. 1, you need to reach out to your customers. 2, you need to, more importantly, collect information from your customers. So you need to collect their email addresses so you can build up an email list. Abandoned cart, welcome series, you want to upsell, cross-sell. Of course, you can do that in apps in Shopify, but you can also do a really good job of that within Klaviyo, and also resurrection campaigns. Now that sounds a bit weird. We're not talking about creating zombies. We're actually talking about people that look like they're probably not going to be your customers anymore. Maybe they're getting very close to hitting that dreaded unsubscribe button. So we want to show you how to actually use Klaviyo to avoid that situation, and it has inbuilt tools in there. Now, I'm going to show you one of my clients' accounts in Klaviyo, so I'm going to have to blur a few things out, but it'll give you a general gist of how to use the product and what it does. Now, again, I can't stress enough how important email marketing is in any business, especially in e-commerce, because once you have your people locked in or your customers locked in, you have them on a list, you can reach them at any time unless they unsubscribe. So that's why having a list is really important. It is one of the most cost-effective channels for making sales, and also, most importantly, building customer loyalty and customer trust. So let's have a look at Klaviyo. So when you look in, you'll see the dashboard, and now we're still setting up this store's Klaviyo. We had Drip before this, and Drip is not a bad product either, but it was a little bit alien to me, and it's not something I like, and I think this one is much better, and it's personal preference, right? Like Drip is still a really good tool, but I think Klaviyo, in terms of the ecosystem, just seems to integrate with everything a lot better. So I'll just quickly walk you down the list here. So we can set up campaigns, so that's when we want to send out like our manual campaigns. We've got flows, so we can create our welcome series and other series, like a abandoned cart series. We have our email templates, so there's a lot of ways to create emails. This is where we house our lists and segments, our customer profiles, analytics. This is where we do all our integrations, and a whole bunch of other stuff here, which I won't mention. Tags is another good one, so you can tag your customers as well, depending on what they've done or what actions you want them to take. So if we have a look in campaigns, you can see, and again, I'm probably going to have to blur some of this out. So I've just gone in and looked at one of the campaigns we've recently sent. So I just filtered one, just to give an example of how this looks. So if we went in and had a look at this, and again, I'm going to have to probably censor some of this information, but you can see there's a whole bunch of information this gives you after you send out an email. So you've got recipient activity, so you can see what everyone's done. But the really cool thing here is conversions. So again, you can see how many people have bought and how much they've paid. So how much you've accumulated, can't even say the word, accumulatively. That still doesn't sound really good, but you know what I'm saying, right? Accumulatively, there we go, I got it out. That is the value of how many conversions that are there. So this is really good. You want to keep an eye on how much your emails are making you. I would still say that you want to have your Google Analytics set up so you can track that as well to keep everyone honest between Shopify and your email system and Facebook ads and all of that good stuff. Make sure you've got Google Analytics set up as well. So that's one thing. Again, I can hear my dog snoring in the background. I don't know, in every video he seems to be sitting there just snoring his head off. So yeah, if you hear that, that's not me falling asleep. That's just him having a nap. So this is my little culprit who's been snoring in the background. So if you hear snoring in my videos, it's actually from this little guy, my little Cavalier Bailey. So he's my little mascot, but he is a snorer. All right, off your pot, buddy. He's groaning because he wants to go back to sleep. Off you go, buddy. All right, cool. All right, getting back to it. Just thought I'd annoy him. Okay, cool. So this is where you can pick your templates right here. So you can see all of your templates. You can build your flows in here, so you can do a lot of automated flows. It also helps you build some of these automatically, so it actually gives you some recommended flows that you can just kind of create off the bat. I would always say, as a best practice, when you're doing these things, always have a special offer, especially when you get a new customer. And if they've bought something before, wait like 30 days and give them an extra little surprise if they come back and buy another one. Always want to entice them back. You want to look after your customers because it's very hard to get new customers, and you want to try and make sure you keep the ones that you've got and try and keep those guys happy. So this is where we can do our lists and segments. There's a whole bunch of information here on how to segment stuff as well. So for instance, we can create a segment, and let's just call this a test And then based on what we want to do, we can do what someone has done, for instance, and we can say if they've purchased a certain product or placed a certain order for a product at least once or several times. If we want to do multiple times, so it's like at least once or equals whatever, and we can kind of like build this out and create really, really, really intricate and I would say like laser targeted segments, which is what you want to do. So you can send out more emails even though you have a limited number of people in your inbox. In your list. There's still many ways you can actually go in and segment it so you can still send out many emails a week because you're not hitting the same people, because you want to try and make it personalized, right? So you want to make every email personalized to that individual, what they've bought before, what they're interested in, what they're looking at, and you can do all of that in Klaviyo. You can look at customer profiles. So there's a whole bunch of customer profiles in here. Again, I'm going to just blur all these out. Analytics. So we can see a whole bunch of things here, like orders placed. So if I did this, we should be able to see that. Now, again, this is just being set up, so we can see that, and it looks a bit dire here because it's like dropped off a cliff, but Klaviyo has, I think it's a 12-hour, 24-hour reporting period, so it takes a little bit of time for this to get populated. But you can see there's a lot of information here that you can pull out. So it is a very, very, very robust email platform. You can do pretty much anything you want to do in here. We've just got Shopify Plus for one of the guys I work with now, and Shopify Plus with Shopify Plus scripts, and this work amazingly. So again, can't recommend Klaviyo highly enough. Make it part of your arsenal, make it part of your ecosystem. I will put a link in the description below if you want to go and trial it out. Of course, it's an affiliate link, so you'll help me out by signing up for it as well. If you want to do me a favor and you liked my video so far, then please feel free to sign up and give it a try. You won't regret it. Now, the next tool I want to show you is a chat function or a chat tool. So you can use this to field customer inquiries. You've probably seen like this little thing on websites before. That pops up and they can ask you questions. And this is where you want to actually be able to answer people's questions in real time, get back to them as soon as possible. If you're not going to do it, then at least have a customer service person or an admin or somebody that you're paying to get back to your customers. So it's really, really important that you get back to your customers as quickly as you can. Now, most of this is going to come through the bubble. There's other things you can do around setting up automated responses and things like that. So if you've ever used something like ManyChat or ChatFuel as a Facebook ads or Facebook Messenger ads chatbot, or just Facebook Messenger chatbot, then you'll kind of get the hang of this pretty quickly. So let me just dive in and show you how you can do some quick replies. So if I just go up to tickets and then I go up and click on settings, I can go through here. I'm going to blur out all my information, but you can see here that there's integrations. So all the integrations that this works with, so obviously Shopify, Slack, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here that's really good, and you can create lots of different automations. And of course, you want to add the chat to your website. That's the big one. There's rules, so you can set rules like where, if someone says, "Where's my order?" You can then have something populate in your messenger so they can see where their order's at. Because one of the big problems or one of the big roadblocks that a lot of e-commerce businesses have is customers asking for where their order is if it's kind of like floating around. Just like you or me, we know that it's really important to understand where our product is, because we get a little bit nervous when it hasn't arrived on time, or even just we wanted to check that it's been sent out. And if you had to answer one of these questions for every person that had this issue, you would never get off the chat function. So having things like rules set up where it can actually help the customer walk through the process for themselves. If you give them a tracking code for their to track their parcel, then they can actually type it in here, and it'll tell them where the product is at or where their delivery is at. So these things are really cool because you can do like rules like that where you can actually set up for different queries that someone might have. You might have automated responses, or you might be able to answer someone's question. So if you have a lot of, like, think of your fact page, right? Like if you've got a fact page, then all of those questions on there should be in here as rules. So when someone asks them, you've got an answer for it. The other way to do it, you can then add these little quick replies to your chat window, and then so when someone actually wants an answer to something, they can have like maybe your main ones here, like maybe where's my parcel, your opening hours, do you deliver to my country, whatever it might be. So they can click on it and they can get an answer very, very quickly. So very similar to rules. Rules are also good because you can have all this other stuff in the background that, if someone asks a question, they want to speak to someone after, maybe they've started on a automated chat, but they actually want to speak to a customer representative, then you can set up a rule for that where once they ping that, then it might ping someone in your customer service team on Slack so they know that they have to jump on and answer a question. So that's where rules differ to quick replies, where quick replies are just literally they click on the response and they get an answer. So very much like almost like a live FAQ page. But this is something that will save your life. Well, maybe not save your life, but save you lots of hours in terms of answering customer queries, especially when your store starts to get really, really busy. So I recommend this as a great integration tool. So yeah, check it out. Gorgias is awesome, and it's one of my favorite things to include in the Shopify ecosystem now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about quickly is user-generated content. And the best way to get user-generated content, or one of the best ways, is through reviews. So the great thing about reviews, when you get enough reviews, it'll start to show up on your Google Ads. So you'll see like 5-star rating or whatever it might be, depending on what people have. Hopefully it's a 5-star rating, depending on what customers have rated your products in your store. And then the other cool things is it helps with SEO because people are actually adding content to your pages. So they actually show up on review pages and under products and things like that. So when someone actually types in, product plus review, when they type something in to Google, your thing might show up because people are actually writing reviews on those products. So there's many reasons why this, like having a good review app or platform, is a great thing to have. I would also say that you can create custom audience. So when you have enough reviews, you could create a custom audience on your reviewers, maybe your 5-star reviewers, put them into a list, and then upload them into Facebook ads. Because if someone's come through and had to and wanted to leave a review, that means they're really, really engaged in your product. So, and we might talk about this in one of the Facebook ads series videos, but you can then use this to build a custom audience of your best reviewers. Of your best reviewers. And then what you could do is then create a lookalike audience, and hopefully Facebook can try and find more of those people that are very passionate, just like your current reviewers and customers. So there's many reasons why you want to have a review system set up. Also, probably one of the biggest ones as well is you can just get a general finger on the pulse on how customers are interacting with your store and if they like it or not. So I would say that Stamped is a really, really good one. I don't have it set up for this client that I'm going through right now, but they have actually reviews.io, and the jury's still out on that one for me. I think it's okay, like it's pretty good, but it doesn't integrate with as many things as Stamp.io. This seems to be more of a native thing when it comes to Shopify, so I'm still judging it at the moment. But this one, so Stamp.io, is one of my favorites. And if you look at the pricing as well, you can't go wrong there. It's super, super cost effective. You want to get in now before everyone jacks up their price eventually once it gets more and more popular. Like Yotpo is ridiculously expensive, and it used to have a really, really good freemium version, and then it kind of had like a mid-tier version and then an enterprise version. Now it's pretty much just like free to like thousands of dollars a month. But I think this is a great alternative, a fantastic review system. So you can see here all the different things you can do, like product reviews, photos, so people can send in photos as well, which would be great to put on Instagram and things like that. So again, user-generated content. Checkout reviews. So when they're checking out, they can like show up in a little checkout bar. Video reviews, so video testimonials, again, really good for Facebook ads and Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, whatever. A whole bunch of stuff in here. Net Promoter Score, so you can actually get a feel of how well you're doing as well, like are customers happy with your offering and your product. So there's some really good stuff in here. There's SMS, there's a whole bunch of things. So I recommend checking this out as well. It really, really does fit in with the ecosystem. And like I said, it's got a lot of benefits for SEO, for Facebook ads, and just for understanding how well you're doing and how much your customers like you as well. So this will give you a good indication of how well you're doing. So again, make sure you have a really good review platform installed, and I think you can't go wrong with this. It has a free version, so go check it out. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is Gleam. Now, Gleam is one of my favorite apps for building viral growth. So if you want something that actually has a bit of virality to it, rather than just spending money on Facebook ads and Google ads and YouTube ads, which you do get results from. This kind of amplifies that for you as well. Having a really good competition with a really good price, that I can't emphasize that enough. You have to have something that someone wants that is very relevant to your audience. You can supercharge your list growth with this thing. And I'll show you in a minute how we've done it. I've actually built a whole bit, like $1 million business with competitions being one of the main drivers, but you have to get it right and you have to know your audience. And this is with the customer I work with now, or the client I work with now. They really understand the customer. They have a great business, a great product, and they're able to offer really, really cool prizes. So, and then you might say, Andrew, well, I don't have a store that is making millions of dollars a month. I don't have, my products are not really well known. Well, maybe then you can partner up with someone else. Get an Amazon gift voucher, buy some Nike shoes. I don't know. Depends. Say, here's an example. If you were building, let's say, an apparel store, a fitness apparel store, you want to be the next Gymshark, for instance. So what you could do is go and get a whole bunch of, go buy protein, find out who your audience likes in terms of their favorite protein. You can do send out a survey in Klaviyo. There you go. And they can tell you or a poll on Facebook, get them to tell you what their favorite protein is. Go buy a whole bunch of that. Go buy some Nike shoes. Go buy, maybe a gym voucher, like membership voucher, and a whole bunch of your products. So you want to associate your new brand with all of these products that they love. So you kind of create this psychological thing where they associate your brand with the things they love, and then hopefully they start to love your brand. But it's also, when you're starting out, this is a good way of getting them interested in your product, because if you just give away your product and they don't know who you are, you're probably not going to make much traction. But if you can partner it up with things they want, then the competition will definitely work. Well, I shouldn't say definitely, I don't want to give guarantees, but you're more likely to succeed that way. So the reason why I use Gleam is it syncs up with all my favorite email marketing systems. So Klaviyo and also Drip, it did work with Drip. Some people might say, well, why would I use Klaviyo when I could use MailChimp? There's a few issues with MailChimp. I just don't like it. It is good to start with. It's probably a very, very good starting tool, but you'll quickly outgrow it. It doesn't really have a native integration with Shopify anymore, and I think Klaviyo really is just, in terms of prices, there's not that much difference when you start paying, once you get out of the free tier. So that's why I was saying Klaviyo is still really good, and it integrates really well with things like Gleam. So, like I said, have an awesome prize. I just did a whole spiel on that, so you get it. Install Gleam on Shopify, so you can have the app and install your app, the Gleam app on Shopify, and then choose the right ways to enter. So I'm going to show you in a second why I love this tool so much and why it's better, why it's so cool for not just growing your email database, but all your other important channels as well. So let's go and have a look. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is the amount of users we've generated in total. So if I went to the whole thing, so I'm just going to try and go back to the start, and then we want to go to users. You can see that there's about 5,000 people in here. So there's like a 5K mark over here. We have 5,000 people on our list. That's how many people we were actually able to capture over the many, many months of running these competitions. And then you can see our latest competition, which I'll go to now. Again, I'm probably going to have to blur out. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to blur this out, but I want to show you something quickly, which is this thing here, which is really cool. So you can see the number of entries. You can see reporting, which is awesome. So you can see the conversion rates, how many people entered, how many people are entering every day, and all that sort of stuff. You can select your winner at the end, obviously, which we're not going to do now because this thing's still running. But the really cool thing is, and if I go back to, let's go to edit, I want to show you something. So I want to show you ways to enter, right? So what you can do here is create a point system, right? So you can create a point system based on what people do. Now, what I would say is pick the growth platforms that you want to grow, essentially. So are your audience on Instagram? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on YouTube? Make sure you don't go nuts with every platform, but pick the ones that you think are working for you, and then you want to grow those platforms. And competitions, again, is a really great way of not only getting newsletter signups, but people to follow you on Facebook and Instagram, and then also subscribe to YouTube and follow you on your Pinterest boards and all that sort of stuff. So there's lots of things you can do, and of course, like I said, build up your email list, which is probably the most important one. But this is how it works, essentially. You can see here there's lots of ways you can get someone to enter. So again, if you're doing YouTube, you could say subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you get 6 points. And you can set the points here in this thing. So if I went and clicked on this, you can see that something like referring a friend, for instance, is worth 8 entries. And I can set this at different things. So I can actually change this, which I won't do now because this is running. But I could change this depending on how much I think that's worth as an action. And the customer will see, or the competition entrant will see this as, they're getting extra entries, so they have more chance of winning. So this is what you want them to do. You could then get them to sign up to your Instagram page. And that's worth how many points you think it's worth. That's up to you. But maybe your audience isn't on Instagram. Maybe they're on YouTube. Maybe they're on, let's say, Pinterest. They could be on Pinterest. So maybe you've got a podcast. You want them to subscribe to your podcast. There are a lot of ways to grow things here. But the biggest, most important success factor for a competition is having an awesome prize and being targeted with who you're trying to get on board as an entrant. So the great thing about Gleam too, they have a whole page dedicated to competition websites where you can post your link to your competition, sometimes for free, sometimes you have to pay for it. But you can also run Facebook ads and YouTube ads, and it will amplify those efforts. So again, I've built probably at least $1 million store using competitions as one of the main drivers. So it really does go a long way. I say go check it out. Go try Gleam. If you've got a really good idea for a competition, you won't regret it. You'll definitely get a lot of growth out of it. So I recommend checking it out. So one of the final apps and platforms I've got to show you is Smile.io. Now this is built around creating customer loyalty. Now there's that old saying that it's so much more expensive to get a new customer, and you should be focusing on making the customers you already have, kind of making their experience better so they'll actually want to purchase more from you. It's a lot better to keep the customers you have and keep them happy. And a really good loyalty program goes a long way in that. I recommend going to read a book by Tony Hsieh called Delivering Happiness. He was the founder of Zappos, which obviously got sold to Amazon for a lot of money. But just the kind of ethos and philosophy around customers and making customers happy and going that extra mile, I found that book to be really inspiring. And I think that is the cornerstone of a good loyalty program. Is you want to make your customers feel loved, you want to make your customers feel happy, and you want to make them want to come back and buy from you because they feel like ambassadors and they actually want to tell people about your brand because they like it so much. I think that is the golden goose, is when someone can actually go and say to their friend, I reckon you should check these guys out. They're awesome. I've bought so much products from them. Because people are more likely to listen to their friends or someone they trust who've recommended something rather than just a Facebook ad or even just searching something on Google. So the power or the power of the word of mouth is really is very strong, and especially when you have friends telling you that they like something, you're probably way more likely to go out and do that thing if your friends told you rather than some stranger or some Facebook ad. So building customer loyalty, really important, and this app does this really well. So if you've ever, I'm pretty sure anyone who's bought coffee before or has been on an airplane or even just gone to a department store knows the philosophy around giving away points, because if you buy this much in product or value, then you'll get this many points. It locks them into an ecosystem because they'll then want to use those points later on a next purchase. So I would say that's really good. Having additional perks for your customers, like giving them gifts and invites to events, or even just giving them like nice little messages or sending them flowers on their birthday. I mean, there's so many ways that you could be much better as a business and looking after your customers than your competition. Just think about it. Like, think how you could go that extra mile for someone special to make that, their day even more awesome. Or if they're having a bad day, trying to cheer them up. That's why I say go read Delivering Happiness. There's a lot of stuff in there about that. You want to be better than your competition about being loved. You want your 1,000 true fans. You want them to rave about you. This is where you can build that loyalty as well as just being an awesome human being. So create a referral system. So maybe you want to create your brand ambassadors where they get 10% off if they refer their friend and their friend gets 10% off something. There's lots of ways to do it. Building VIP audiences in Facebook ads. So you can send special offers to Facebook ads people who are your VIPs. You can do that in Klaviyo as well. You saw where you could set that up, and this integrates with that as well. So there's lots of ways to do it. So straight off the bat, I want to show you the way it integrates with everything. So we showed you Gorgias before. It integrates with that. So when you're speaking to one of your VIP customers or one of your special customers. Klaviyo, so again, it fits in with that ecosystem. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in here as well. So Recharge, Shoelace, there's so many things this actually integrates with. So there's ways you could set up point systems in here for them to earn points based on things they buy, based on different things they do. And you can set up all that in here. You can do referral systems. So if someone is actually going to send off something to their friend, so it's 10% off for them, 10% off for their friend. You can set all these up with all the different rules and social sharing and all that sort of stuff. Your specialty VIPs. So this one needs an upgrade for this, but you can actually, depending on what you've done, giving them perks and stuff. And this is the next tier up. So, but very, very worthwhile. You can also do this in Klaviyo as well, and tag your VIPs as well, and just keep track of them manually. But I think this is a good investment. And then activity, you can see what people have been doing as well, and what orders are. Just seeing how well your little VIP or reward system or referral system is doing. So that's pretty much it. So just going back to it, these are the ones I recommend to build as part of your ecosystem. There are a few other ones that I will mention as well in a second, but these are like should be your core system. And then, yes, each one of these probably has a different. Like so for Gorgias, there are competitors like there's Drift. For Smartdo, there's like Candy something, Referral Candy. Sorry, I mentioned that before. Stamp.io has Reviews.io. Klaviyo has MailChimp, and it has Drip and ActiveCampaign and Emasis, or Emasis, however you want to pronounce it, if you're making a lot of money. And then Gleam, I think it's probably the only one I'm not too sure. There probably is another competition app out there, but nothing I've seen that even comes close to that. But this is my ideal ecosystem, and one that I recommend setting up something like this would be really, really good for your store. Now, I'm just going to do some quick honorable mentions before my computer takes off to the moon. The little fan's going a million miles an hour. It's about ready to, it becomes deafening after a while. It's about ready to take off. But I will do some honorable mentions. One is ManyChat. So this is great for building Facebook Messenger chatbots. The really cool thing about this now is that Messenger and Instagram are now combined. So the direct messaging on Instagram and also Facebook Messenger have combined into one thing. So you can now use a chatbot. Sounded very Canadian. You can now use a chatbot on Facebook, but also on Instagram as well, which is really cool. So this is becoming more and more important. It also integrates really well with Gorgias. So if someone sends you a message on Facebook or on Instagram, then you can get that message synced across to Gorgias and then like finish off the inquiry over there. So that's a really good one. Zapier is another really, really cool thing. If you're not a programmer and you don't want to connect a whole bunch of APIs together in code, then this integrates many different platforms together that you wouldn't even think of. It's almost like the little Swiss Army knife is what I like to call it. So if you want to connect one platform with another platform, if you can think it, it's probably on here, and you could probably do it. So if you ever see that there's a missing integration between Shopify and something else, maybe you can connect it through Zapier. So this thing has saved my bacon a few times. I reckon go and check it out. It is really, really cool. Very cost effective as well for what it does. And if you don't want to sit there and learn code and learn how to create APIs and connect APIs together, this is a really cool little platform. Okay, so the last one I'll mention is Typeform. This is really good for doing customer surveys and getting information from customers, and also using it almost like a landing page as well. Integrates really well with things like Zapier and some of the other tools within Shopify as well. So again, this gets an honorable mention. Definitely worth checking out. So that pretty much wraps up my video on my ideal Shopify sales ecosystem. So like I said, you don't have to have this exact one, but these are ones that I recommend and I've built really successful stores off the back of. I've tested them together. They all work. You've seen some of my honorable mentions. They're also really good to add into the fray here a little bit. So I would say go and check these out. There's a lot of them have free trials. As I mentioned, I've got a free link in Klaviyo to go check out in the description below. It definitely is an affiliate link, so I want to call that out. But if you're cool with maybe potentially giving me money if you sign up for it, then I recommend going and check that out. Gorgias has some free usage time as well. Gleam has a free tier, but it's kind of limited. Stamp definitely have the free tier, and I can't remember if Smile.io does, but it's still worth paying for it anyway if your store is starting to pick up a little bit and you're getting more customers through. So without further ado, if you like this video, please remember to subscribe, smash or annihilate that like button, whatever you prefer. And that is pretty much it. I will be dropping those next videos next week, so keep an eye out for those. And until then, keep nerding out on e-commerce, and I will catch you later.